Hello, hello. Here we go. Okay, so my name's Adam Cox. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about how phobias are created and how we can go back in time to the very point at which your phobia was created and then change the meaning. Okay, now this protocol, this hypnosis program download that I'm actually going to be creating live in this video is called Regression to the Point of Creation. Now, if you've seen the film Inception, you'll get a sense of this, and that is that things that we believe or things that kind of affect us unconsciously have a point at which they were created, the point of inception. And this is what this video is going to be all about. It's going to be about how phobias are created, and most importantly, how we then change what that meaning is. Okay, so most people believe that phobias are somehow genetic, or that they have acquired them and they will have to have them forever. And as someone that had crippling phobias throughout my late teenage years and early 20s, and I don't have those phobias anymore, my frame of reference is very different. Obviously, I've helped hundreds of people to get rid of their phobias. So I have a complete conviction that phobias are temporary and they're not very useful, and we can change them. And this is a protocol, an approach that I use with certain clients, because if they can, and I normally do it for people where they remember or know the cause of their particular phobia. That's an important thing, because a lot of people pick up their phobias from parents or siblings or family members, and they've got no idea where the phobia actually came from. But some people do. It might have been a fear of flying, might have been created from being on a plane with intense turbulence, for example, or it might have been at a time when someone was bitten by a dog or scratched by a cat. You know, sometimes there is what's known as a sensitizing event, an initial point where it happened. And the reality is that you're only born with two fears. You're born with a fear of falling and a fear of loud noises, which means every fear outside of those two is learned, and even those fears can be unlearned. So just accept the premise or the belief system that fears and phobias are learned. And then it's a really useful way of thinking about them, because if they can be learned, they can be unlearned. And I want you to think about something that you know how to do, a skill that you've learned. For example, driving. Driving, you may know how to drive a car now, but there was a point at which you didn't know how to drive the car. Okay? Now, because you've learned how to drive a car, you might not ever forget how to drive a car, but that doesn't mean that you have to keep driving a car for your whole life. You could drive a different vehicle instead. So the key thing is that there was a point at which that skill became acquired and then became adapted and internalized at an unconscious level. In this session, this video, we're going to talk about the importance of regression. Now, for a lot of times when people hear the phrase regression, they start thinking about past life regression. Now, past life regression can be a useful tool if the client believes that they have had past lives, or at least is open-minded to that. In this video, we're not talking about past life regression at all. We're talking about regression within your own lifetime. Because in the same example of driving, within your lifetime, there was a point where you didn't know how to drive. And if you know how to drive now, there was a point that you learnt that skill. So we can go back to the very point in time where you learnt it. In the same way that you learnt to have this fear, this phobia that you have, we can go back to the very point at which it was created. So we know there was a time before it that stimulus didn't cause the feelings of anxiety that you probably experience now, but there was a point after it at which it did. And the key thing is, the phobias are created very quickly and unconsciously. And there is normally a massively positive intent from the part that creates the phobic reaction. And here's the interesting thing. Not everyone that gets bitten by a dog has a phobia of dogs. Not everyone that is on a plane with intense turbulence develops a fear of flying. Okay? So what tends to happen is at the point of the sensitizing event, the meaning that we give to the event tends to either create the phobia and make it stick, or it doesn't, and it becomes a temporary, momentary feeling of distress or anxiety in the moment, but then doesn't turn into a phobia. And that distinction and difference is crucial, because if we can go back and regress within your own life to the point of inception and creation and give it a new meaning that is temporary and useful rather than distressing, permanent, and unuseful, then actually we can take the trajectory of your life in a very different direction. So this is regression to the point of inception. I'm going to have a bit of a pause and I'm just going to take you through this hypnosis session. And this is hypnosis, by the way. Some of my approaches tend to be more NLP based or CBT based or just goal setting based. This one is clinical hypnosis. So I'm going to take you through an induction. I'm going to take you through a process of stages of dissociation. And then I'm going to use some metaphor, I've not even decided which one it's going to be yet, to then regress to that point in your life where you can then observe what happened as if you're seeing it from a different perspective, and then go into that version of you and then attribute a new, more useful meaning for the event that took place. And then we're going to see how your life had two different trajectories. The trajectory of attributing the meaning that you originally did, and then the new meaning. And we can see that actually a lot of the distress and anxiety that you've experienced over the last few years wasn't necessary had the original sensitizing event been given a different meaning and the resources that were activated to cope, rather than being an anxiety or sympathetic nervous system response, is actually going to be something much more useful. Okay, so given that this is a premise of inception here, I'm going to use something called the inception induction. Now, I don't believe people have created or used this term. I feel like it's something that I've come up with. Essentially, it's a form of disassociation. But I'm going to use the metaphor of a dream within a dream within a dream. Hence, that's what the movie Inception has at its core premise. And also, the movie also talks about planting a seed of an idea that is accepted by the subconscious mind. And therefore, this is essentially what has happened to you. Your phobia had a point of inception. We're going to go back to the point of inception and change the meaning so that everything from that point onwards has a different course in your life. That's a crucial element to it. Again, just to echo what I've said in previous videos, I'm doing this live on YouTube for two reasons. One, not everyone is able to work with me, so I need to create these online videos and I need to create these online audio files anyway. Otherwise, it limits the amount of people I can work with to only those people that can arrive at my clinic in Harley Street in central London. And I believe that we can make more of a difference if we provide opportunities for people to work with me in a digital version rather than just face-to-face. So that's one of the reasons. The second is that this video on YouTube is completely free. You're watching it, you're seeing what I'm doing, and actually someone in the comments might say when the hypnosis starts, and you can just fast forward to that point and watch it as many times as you want, completely free of charge. That's absolutely fine. You know, that's not an issue at all. All I would say is that if you are using it in that way, it is free. What would help is for other people to experience this hypnosis also free, is if you can like, share, or comment as to what you found useful, and therefore YouTube's algorithms will detect this more and put it in front of more people that can also benefit. So that would be useful. Equally, if you don't want the hassle of going to YouTube each and every time, because obviously you have a need for data in order to do that, and sometimes adverts might come on in the middle if you don't have YouTube Premium. So it's not the most effective way to receive this content. So this is me doing the live recording right now. This is a broadcast quality microphone. There's also a broadcast quality microphone there. I'm also recording the raw footage of this video, and that's all going to be edited together alongside a high quality music background. So if you do want, let's say, the polished version of what I'm about to do now, edited, put together with a music bed, then visit my website, phobiaguru.com, and actually get the premium version of this. But equally, feel free to just experience the version that you're hearing and seeing me do right now. So this works better, by the way, if you have your eyes closed. So although it's a video, don't feel that you have to have your eyes open. You can do, and if you do choose to have your eyes open, I would say focus on one specific point. Now that might be a point on the microphone, or it might be into my eyes, or something else. You decide. But if you fixate on a particular point, what you'll find is that it's easier to defocus your eyes and then go into that trance-like state. However, you can get more out of this by simply closing your eyes, because when you close your eyes, you're able to follow my direction suggestions much more effectively, because a lot of what hypnosis is all about is me being a tour guide for your unconscious mind. And your unconscious mind typically is the images that you make in your mind's eye as we start to go on a journey. Bearing in mind, again, this is very visually based, because it's based on the premise of dreaming. So dreams within dreams within dreams, to get to that deep level in your subconscious mind. I'm going to take a pause so that my editor knows exactly when to jump in and then start the audio editing from this point. So in a few moments' time, we're going to start the clinical hypnosis, and we'll get going on it. I'd like you to take a deep breath in. A nice deep breath in, and on the out breath, close your eyes. I want you to get a sense that as you breathe in again, you're breathing in a sense of positivity and relaxation. And as you breathe out, I want you to get a sense that you're breathing out feelings of tension, stress, or anxiety. And occasionally, while I'm talking, there might be other noises in and around your surroundings. And those noises might be people talking, movements, sounds, perhaps traffic outside the window. These sounds, these distractions, do exactly what I need them to do. Because the more that your conscious mind is distracted, the better able I am to influence what's happening in your subconscious mind, your unconscious mind. As you breathe in these warm feelings of relaxation, you get an overall sense that your body is becoming deeper and deeper relaxed. And equally, as you breathe out, sometimes it's useful to imagine that you're breathing out feelings of tension, stress, and anxiety. That's right. Because if you are listening to my voice right now, it's because there is a fear that is no longer useful for you. A reaction, perhaps, to a situation or an event or a thing that you no longer want to feel these distressing, unpleasant emotions anymore. And that's good. Because just because you are experiencing or have experienced something doesn't mean that you have to experience it forever. Because fears are a bit like beliefs. There are many things that you believe now that you didn't used to believe. And equally, there are things that you did used to believe that you no longer believe. Now, just because you believe something, it doesn't mean it's true. What is always true, though, is the experiences, the emotions that you feel, quite often as a result of believing something that isn't even true. Perhaps you can remember a time as a child, maybe if a tooth fell out and you put your tooth under a pillow, those feelings of anticipation, excitement, waiting for the tooth fairy to come and perhaps leave a coin under your pillow. Even if the tooth fairy wasn't real, those feelings of anticipation and excitement, when you found that coin under your pillow the next morning, they were real. And the same is true with a phobia. Because in many cases, people believe that the fear is caused by the stimulus, by the event, by the thing. And actually it isn't. The phobia is simply caused by the meaning, the evaluation, the association that you attribute to those things. It's the thoughts and the sequence of those thoughts that create the feelings. The feelings are real and the thoughts are real. But that doesn't mean that the belief that the thing itself is causing your fear is true. And just as those feelings of excitement when you thought that Santa might bring presents on Christmas Day, those feelings of excitement, those feelings of anticipation, they were real, even if Santa Claus wasn't. And as you think about those times in your childhood where those beliefs felt so real because of the feelings that you had, it's also possible that other things took place in your childhood. Things that may not be useful to keep believing them. Because there may have been a time when you were maybe 6 or 7 or 8 years old. Maybe a time in your childhood where you discovered that Santa Claus wasn't real. Suddenly, that thing that you just accepted to be true suddenly got readjusted. You changed your perceptions. And at the point where you changed your perceptions, that then also changed your ability to feel certain feelings around those events. When the belief changed, the feelings that happened as a ripple effect also changed. So isn't it also possible that if we go back to the very point where your phobia was created and change the meaning that you gave to that sense, if we go back to the time where your phobia was created and change the meaning that you gave at that point in time, then everything that happened afterwards would follow a different trajectory. I want you to imagine that if you were in a large field and you were just walking forwards, over time you would cover a large distance. But just imagine there were 2 versions of you in the same place, walking at the same pace. And just imagine that one version of you took a slightly different direction, maybe just a degree or 2 in a different direction. To begin with, there would be hardly any noticeable differences. But what would happen is, as the years and the months go by, eventually you would end up in 2 entirely different places. And that's the purpose of this audio right now. That you will go back to a time when your phobia was created, and the beliefs and meaning that you gave to that phobia are what is resulting in your experiences now that you no longer want. Therefore, if we change the meaning, we change your current evaluation of that situation. As you breathe in those feelings of relaxation and breathe out those feelings of tension, I want you to imagine that you are about to go into a deep, deep sleep. But to arrive in this deep, deep sleep, we have to find the perfect bed, the perfect bedroom, the perfect environment with the perfect ambience and environment for you to go into the deepest possible sleep. And I want you to create an image of what that room and what that bed would look like right now. Perhaps it's the most comfortable bed that you've ever slept in. Maybe it's a time recently that you've experienced a perfect night's sleep. I want you to make a vivid picture now of that room, of that bed. And I want you to imagine that you're climbing into that bed, feeling the softness of the mattress, feeling the comfort of the pillow, feeling your body sink in to that bed. And as you breathe in, it's almost like you're breathing in a feeling of sleepiness. A feeling of sleepiness with each and every breath that takes you deeper and deeper relaxed. That's right. And in fact, I'm going to count from 10 to 1. And when I arrive at 1, you will imagine that you've drifted off into a deep sleep and that actually you are now inside your own dream. And in that dream, you are going to be in a place that you remember from your childhood, a relaxing place, maybe a time when you were on holiday, but it was a place that you have good, positive, relaxing feelings already connected to. But for now, as you're in this comfortable bed, and I count down from 10 to 1, you will just go deeper and deeper asleep with each descending number. 10. Feeling your body comfortable, sinking in to the mattress, into the pillow, feeling deeper and deeper relaxed. 9. Another 10% deeper relaxed. 8. Feeling warm, cozy, good, comfortable feelings. 7. Muscles around your eyes, shoulders, neck, just starting to relax. 6. Almost having a temptation to yawn. Because even the idea of yawning creates a desire to yawn. As you go 10%, 1/10, deeper and deeper relaxed. 5. Halfway now. Brainwaves already starting to change their frequency. Change their frequency to the kind of frequency that you can make all the more vivid, powerful, imaginary, dreamlike images in your mind's eye for another 10% deeper and deeper relaxed as you go more and more comfortably relaxed now. 3. Feeling loose, feeling light, feeling heavy, feeling all kinds of feelings around your body as you feel that feeling that you've had every single night of your life, that period just before you go off to a deep, deep sleep. 3 and then 2, deeper, even deeper relax now. As you start to feel the heaviness of your eyes, as you feel that desire to yawn, even if it's just in your imagination. And 1, drifting off to a deep, deep sleep. Fast forwarding to the part where your brain activates REM sleep. REM simply meaning rapid eye movement. That dreamlike state in the sleep cycle. And that's happening right now. You can imagine that you're back in time. Back in a time when you were a child in the most perfect, relaxing, tranquil, positive place. Maybe a place when you were on holiday, or maybe a garden from your childhood, or just a place where you felt relaxed, but it's a private place just for you. But in this place, you feel relaxed, you feel safe, you feel secure. And I want you to enjoy just being in this place. It's just a dream. Your imagination is showing you a dream. You've fallen asleep and now you're in a dream and you're dreaming about your childhood. You're in your own body, the body of you as a child, and you feel good. You feel relaxed. So relaxed, in fact, that with each and every breath, you go deeper and deeper relaxed. That's right. And just enjoy your surroundings, because it could be indoors or it could be outdoors. Wherever it is, you're surrounded by things of color. Maybe there is a temperature that you can notice. Perhaps there might even be sounds or smells that your eyes and ears and nose can just latch onto. But you feel really good in this place. Feeling good for no particular reason other than you're in this place. And all I want you to do is to find a comfortable place, perhaps a chair or a bed or a sofa, somewhere near this place. And if it's outdoors, maybe it's a comfortable place to just lie down on the ground. But I want you to find a place that would be a lovely place to just relax. And I want you to go to that place now. Go to that place and just ease into this feeling of relaxation. So comfortable, so enjoyable that you can feel deeper and deeper relaxed just by being in that place. That's right. And all you're going to do is you're going to nicely, enjoyably relax in this place until you start to daydream. You're not going asleep, you're just daydreaming. But you're daydreaming of a memory, a specific memory of when something happened to you that caused a fear or phobic reaction, what we call a sensitizing event. But you don't have to worry, because it's just your daydream within a dream. You're completely safe. There is no physical harm possible at all. All that will happen is that you will see yourself as if you're someone else at the very point where the thing happened that caused your phobia. And I want you to drift off into that daydream, almost feeling like you're going all blurry, relaxed, defocusing your eyes and just dreaming, daydreaming of that particular time before it actually happened, where you see yourself at that very age when this sensitizing event took place. But you see yourself in the period that led up to it, knowing that in those moments before it happened, you had no fear. You had no fear of that particular thing. There was no anxiety. There was no checking or overthinking. There was just what the thing was. And then I want you to see it happening to you. See you at the very age that you were where the thing happened, the event happened that triggered a ripple effect throughout your life that meant that your phobia was created. And I want you to see it happening like it's happening to a stranger. You're just a witness seeing this thing happen. And I want you to notice that at the time, perhaps it was distressing. Maybe something happened unexpectedly. Maybe something happened that you didn't feel that you were very well prepared. Maybe there was an element of surprise or shock or distress. Whatever happened, happened. But I want you to notice that because that thing happened, there must have been an internal meaning given to what happened. And I want you to have this idea firmly planted in your unconscious mind that if we change the meaning back then it changes the future. And it will change your present when you go back to the present. Right now you're in your past, witnessing an event happening to someone that looks exactly like you, but it's just a memory. And allow yourself to witness this. And I want you to try and work out, deduce, try and guess what meaning you gave at that point. Because it may be that you allocated a meaning of danger, threat, risk, or distress. Maybe the meaning was that those things are bad, that situation is to be avoided. Whatever it is, just know that a meaning would have been assigned at that point. And the meaning had a good intent. The intent back then was to protect. And with many people, the way in which they protect is by avoiding. They avoid the very thing, but that can, paradoxically and counterintuitively, increase feelings of anxiety, purely on the basis that we evaluate what we do and what we don't do based on our behavior. If we avoid something consistently, we develop a belief that that thing is to be avoided for a genuine reason, that it is dangerous, that it is distressing, or whatever it might be. And all I want you to do is to see that event happening again. See the version of you before the sensitizing event happened. See the sensitizing event happen to you. Know that some meaning was given to that thing at that time by that version of you. And know that that meaning then caused the future from that point onwards to cultivate the perfect environment for the phobia to be established. And given that you don't want that phobia anymore, if we simply go back to that time and attribute a new meaning, then that new meaning means that your life will follow a different pathway, a different trajectory, a trajectory where the phobia does not exist. You may have seen those time travel based films where they go back to a time in their life, change one thing, and then it changes everything in the future. And that's what we're doing right now. But right now you're just seeing something happening to you and knowing that that's the meaning that you gave it, but we don't have to keep it that way. I want you to reach it to the end after the distressing event has happened and all these neural pathways are starting to form. And then I want you to rewind everything backwards. See everything happening backwards until it was before the event even happened. And when that's happened and you've rewound it, like jump back to the end and then rewind it again. All those neural pathways forming are unforming. The meaning is happening in reverse. The sensitizing event happened backwards until you arrived at the point before the phobia even existed. Jump back to the end and rewind everything. Jump back to the end, rewind everything. But it's happening to that version of you. You're seeing it happen to you rather than at you. And then one final time, see it happening and everything, you're going backwards, talking backwards, thinking backwards, everything's happening backwards and then jump back to the end. But this time you're going to jump into that version of you and then the whole thing's going to happen backwards, but this time through your own eyes. Just as those neural pathways are starting to form and the phobia is about to establish, make everything happen backwards, this time through your own eyes. So you experience the sensitizing event in reverse. Rather than something's happening to you, the sensitizing event is being taken from you, almost like it never happened. Starting at the end and everything happens backwards through your own eyes. You feel like you're moving backwards, talking backwards, thinking backwards, till before it ever happened. So at the point where it ends, you don't have the phobia anymore because it hadn't happened. Jump back to the end through your own eyes. Everything's happening backwards. Jump back to the end. Everything's happening backwards. Jump back to the end. Everything's happening backwards. And feel how good it feels to be in the body of someone where that phobia no longer exists. Because you're in the version of you before the sensitizing event happened, you have no fear. And feel how good it feels to not have that fear anymore. And now, before we play things happening forwards, I want you to decide in advance what new meaning you can give to that sensitizing event. Because it may be that instead of those things or that event is stressful, distressing, and must be avoided, what if the new meaning is that you can learn more about that particular thing or event or situation to reduce feelings of being unprepared? What if the thing that you apply to the meaning is that you need to understand things better? Or what? What if it's that you need to become more resilient? Or what if it's a meaning, that the meaning is that this is a temporary thing and these things happen and you are strong enough to cope? Because every single time that you've experienced anxiety, it was always temporary. And rather than this being a sign that you can't cope, what if the meaning that you give it is simply that you can cope and you will always be able to cope with this situation? Whatever meaning you give it that is positive will take your future in a different direction. But instead of seeing it through your own eyes to begin with, I want you to, again, see yourself as if you're someone else, but decide what meaning they will give it, and then see it happening forwards. See it happening forwards that the very first time that the sensitizing event took place to create the phobia, it happens. But this time in advance, they give it a different meaning. It may be stressful, distressing. It may cause anxiety, but that version of you is now giving it a new meaning, a positive meaning, a meaning that means that this becomes something that you can cope with, that you can deal with, that it was always temporary and you can handle it going forward. Jump back to the beginning and then do it again. See it about to happen to that version of you, but then that version of you is giving it a useful meaning that changes the future. And then jump back to the beginning, and this time go inside that version of yourself. Go through the memory again, but this time you decide in advance that you can cope, that you can give it a positive meaning that will be useful for your future. And then the sensitizing event happens, but you feel that you have the resources to cope. The meaning that you give it means that you will be more prepared for the future, but you will prepare not by freaking out, not by avoiding, but by becoming stronger. Because avoidance is a sign of weakness. Preparation is a sign of strength. You will simply prepare for events like this in the future by understanding more, by preparing more, and by learning more. Whatever meaning you give it is a useful, powerful meaning, and your unconscious mind knows exactly what meaning you will give to this sensitizing event. And then do that now. Allow the thing to happen, and as distressing as it may be, you're giving a positive, useful meaning to that event. And just allow that to settle in. That actually, the consequence of that are that different neural pathways are forming in your mind. That actually, a phobia isn't about to be created, but a different thought process is. Because not everyone that experiences this thing has a phobia. Many people, it can have an entirely different future consequence. And experience that now. Experience it now, and then see what direction that version of you now takes. See yourself as if you're someone else, but see what their future looks like. That actually, the next time something like that happens, they're more prepared, and then more prepared again. Because they took the meaning that they can prepare in a useful way, rather than avoid. And by doing so, each and every time it happens, it's like they're training. They're training in a gym, so their muscles are getting stronger and stronger at the ability to cope with that same stimulus, that same event. They're getting more and more prepared each and every time that it happens. And throughout their life, this thing no longer even phases them. It's something that they can cope with because they've coped with it so many times before. And then I want you to experience that now through your own eyes. Climb inside that version of you. Feel the initial event happening. Feel those neural pathways forming, the beliefs forming that mean this was temporary. This was something that you managed. You rode that wave of anxiety and you coped, you survived, and you are now better prepared if anything similar happens in the future. And because you gave that meaning to it, each and every time something similar happened, it became easier and easier and easier to manage. And I want you to follow that all the way forward to your present moment. That actually, because the original meaning was different, and all the subsequent experiences after that point were somehow different, that actually you no longer have this fear anymore. You don't have this phobia anymore. Because we went back to the point of inception and gave it a new meaning. The new meaning gave it a new belief. And that new belief displaces the old belief. And I want you to imagine that you're standing by the side of a lake. And in your hand you have a stone. And as you throw that stone into the middle of the lake, maybe a large pond, and you see the stone hitting the surface of the water, it occurs to you that one stone hit the surface of the water, but the ripples continue across the surface of the water until they hit the edge. That one change that we made at the point of inception, the point of creation, has now created a ripple effect in your life. Because every experience that you found stressful or traumatic as a result of your phobia was now somehow different because the original sensitizing event had a new meaning. All those times that you freaked out, instead you now think of yourself coping well in those moments. Your unconscious mind from this point onwards will adjust all of those thoughts, all of those memories, and update them to you coping well as a result of the new meaning that your unconscious applies to that event. All the way like ripples on the surface of the water, right to the present point in time and beyond. Even your future means that you will cope better and better and better. The beliefs have changed, therefore the resources have changed. The resources have changed, which means your behavior will change. And each and every time your behavior changes, that becomes new evidence that you can indeed cope. You can handle this. You can do this. And every time you do it and you see that you can handle it, you update your own identity of yourself. It's almost like you're upgrading the operating system of your mind. We're getting rid of that old version, which meant that you have a fear and phobia, and instead we're upgrading it to a new operating system that says that you have the resources to cope and manage with this particular situation. You've got this, you can handle it. And as you sleep over the next few days, your unconscious mind will update, change those memories, change how you think about the future, always using this new, useful meaning that you gave to the first ever time that it happened. And you may or may not remember when that first time was, but your unconscious mind will. Your unconscious mind knows when this phobia was created, and now you've given new meaning, which gives new beliefs, which gives new resources, which means that you can cope. In a few moments' time, you're going to realize that this is just a daydream, and that actually you are in a relaxing, comfortable place at a time in your childhood. And I want you to go back now to that point in your childhood where you're in that relaxing environment, realizing that even this is just a dream, and that actually you're falling asleep in the most comfortable bed. And I want you to almost feel like you're in that bed right now, no longer dreaming, but still sleeping in that bed. And in a few moments' time, I'm going to count from 1 to 10 to awake you from that sleep. You will wake up with the upgraded operating system in your unconscious mind. You will awake with the new beliefs, the new meaning given to the initial point of inception. Everything that followed from that point will be as a direct consequence from the new meaning from the original point of inception. you will awaken with those resources, those beliefs, and a new feeling that somehow something has changed deep, deep in your unconscious mind. You will awaken positive, refreshed, optimistic for the future, and keen to turn the new belief into a self-fulfilling prophecy where indeed this phobia never existed at all. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Okay, so this is a live YouTube video where that, and you probably picked up, there was a few kind of verbal things there where in editing that will be changed. There'll be a sound bit on that. But that's going to be useful anyway for you to upgrade the meaning for your own point of inception of your phobia. Now, if this has been useful, and you might not know if it's been useful yet, it might take you a few days to figure out whether it's been useful. But if this has been insightful in some way, click like. If you want to hear more of my stuff, click subscribe and you'll always get notified. If you'd like to tell me what phobia you have, put it in the comments, because I'm going to read those comments, and that's going to influence the new videos and the new content that I create. And it's also going to help more people to learn about this kind of stuff. For me personally, I had so many phobias, so many anxieties throughout my teenage years and early 20s. And the fact that I had to spend so much time getting through that, I don't want other people to have to invest so much time. I just want them to watch a few videos, listen to a few audio files, and then they're free of their fear for good. That wasn't available to me back 20 years ago. It is available to people now as a result of videos like that. So please like, share, subscribe, and comment, and things like that. Thank you so much for giving me your time and your attention. Hope this has been useful. And again, if you do want to get my course or any of the other content, and maybe you feel this is just one part of your journey to get rid of your phobia, please visit my website, phobiaguru.com, and all the details will be in the description as well. Thank you so much for your time.